Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Turning a Moment into a Movement. I am J Love, and I also represent the Justice for Gerard Movement. Gerard is my son who was wrongfully convicted of a crime that he didn't do, had no knowledge of, and he went to prison for that crime. Innocent and went to prison. And so, because of the journey with him and my experiences with meeting so many others, we created this platform called Turning the Moment into a Movement, where we come on Fridays to discuss wrongful convictions, to educate. Um, our mission is to bring awareness to the wrongful conviction of Gerard and all the others who are wrongly convicted, over sentenced, mentally ill, and medically frail in our community, to inspire, organize, and educate all communities about the need to disrupt systems, policies, and patterns of the criminal legal system that leads to wrongful convictions. That's our mission. That's why we come here every Friday, to educate and to motivate. Um, so, thank you for joining us. So, today we are going to talk about the road to exoneration with our um, our panel member, Dwayne Brooks. And as you guys know, Dwayne was wrongfully convicted for over 35 years for something that he didn't do. So we're going to talk, Dwayne's going to talk to us about the road to exoneration, his journey to be exonerated. So before we get to that, I'm going to bring on our other panelists, and then we're going to get started. So I see Rebatia is here. So hello, Rebatia.
Well, good evening, Jay. Good evening, everybody. Jay, I'm excited to be here and coming to you from the choice zone where I believe it's our right, our inner motivation. It's what we do is to get in our zone and allow what is within you to pull you forward with passion to what you're to not only what you do, but what you're who you are being, what your being is like. And I've been dealing with that a lot lately. And when it comes to these conversations, it is about beingness. It's about who we are, who we are not only on the outside, but within. And I'm so glad we're having these conversations because a lot of times people get exonerated and we don't know exactly what they went through, and we'll never know. We'll never know exactly. But we need to have compassion. We need to have a listening ear and embrace whatever we need to change within us so that we have a more compassionate society and so that wrongful convictions don't happen. People say, why do you keep having these conversations? Well, because it keeps happening. And
Right.
it's time for us to make this change. So, Jay, I'm so glad to be here tonight. I'm telling you,
I'm so
we're
glad you're
on
here
the,
too, Rebatia.
and I believe change is in the air. We have upcoming elections that are going to be coming up soon, and so we really need to be on the ground, like with our feet on the ground and ready and sharing and letting people know. If you know a wolf that's in sheep clothing, it's time to tell everybody so we know who to vote for.
Right. And Rebatia, I just want people to know, just realistically, exonerations don't happen like that. We have over 2 million people in prisons in the United States,
Yeah,
and only 3,000 exonerations, right? Some people are never be exonerated. So it's
never.
not like they're doing this. It's almost, uh, needle in a haystack type of
Yeah,
situation. So,
yeah.
no, we're going to be realistic about it with Dwayne this evening. And he's
Mhm.
going to tell us about his journey. But thank you, Rebatia.
Thank you.
I see Trischè. Hi,
Yeah.
Trischè.
What's up? What's up? What's up? How y'all doing on this? I had to think about what day it is. Friday night.
Friday.
When you think about injustice, the days just run together, don't they? Because, like
Yeah.
you said, it happens all the time. Okay, let me start over. My name is Trischè Duckworth. See, I really don't care about who I am because it ain't about me, right? But just if you don't know me, my name is T Duck Wheezy. Nah, Trischè Duckworth. Trischè Duckworth. I am the executive director of Survivor Speak and the lead consultant at Value Black Lives. Um, I believe we are in an era where uplifting Black lives is non-negotiable. Um, I believe where, and not that I'm against any other ethnic background. I'm not down with the All Lives Matter crew because if all lives mattered, then people wouldn't get mad when you say Black Lives Matter. So,
Right.
but what I will say is that I'm grateful for the continuation of uplifting wrongful convictions. And right now, I just want to highlight that we buried Mr. Carl. Well, I won't say buried, but we said goodbye to Mr. Carl Bruner on
Mhm.
yesterday, who had a beautiful homegoing celebration. Sending love and peace and light and joy and any other good thing that I can think about to muster up to Vernell Vass, who is a board member at Survivor Speak, but she is a longtime warrior in this wrongful conviction community. It was an honor to fight alongside her and her family and be there with them as we seen Carl Bruner be set free by a jury of 12, but still not set free because he never received the justice that was rightfully his. And it leads me to talk about Michael Lawson. Michael Lawson, aka Lucky, is still incarcerated. He is considered aiding and abetting. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't know how you could aid and abet on a crime that a jury of 12 say you did not commit. So right
Mhm.
now we uplift Michael Lawson and we want the powers to be that know that we will not stop fighting until Mr. Lawson comes home, until every single person who was wrongfully convicted comes home, because until we're all free, none of us are free. So we can't
Exactly.
get comfortable and think that we don't have to fight because we are in a battle every day. But the thing about it is, in this particular battle, depending on how you look at it, the battle's already won.
Yes. Yes, Trisha. Thank you. So, you guys, guess who is here today? Haven't been with us in a while, but hey, Edward.
What's up, Baraka?
You muted. Baraka, you muted.
Uh-oh, the crew in the house today.
I apologize for that one. I don't want to come on like Max Street, and I hope he in the house, but I don't
Yeah,
see him.
yeah.
In any case, hello to everyone. Here on J Love, turning a moment into a movement. It's good to take and see Reverend Tia. It's good to see Trish. Um, and it's good to know that you guys still have an audience that are still following you, that are listening to you, that are engaged. And this subject that you're dealing with is always relevant and pertinent in terms of mass incarceration in America. Taking and convicting the innocent is a central part of taking and addressing mass incarceration. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Edward Sanders. I go by the name of Baraka. I am a former juvenile lifer without parole, having served 43 and a half years in prison, having went to prison at the age of 17 in 1975 and returned home in 2017. After having took and come home in 2017, by 2018, I got into the University of Michigan to continue my education. And this is not a rehabilitation, but a habilitation. Children that are sentenced to prison with life without the possibility of parole are sent there to die. And so no rehabilitative funds or resources are given to them. Whatever they learn while they're incarcerated is habilitation, not rehabilitation. And so I took advantage of those prisoners that were older than me, that was more knowledgeable than me, and that was very charitable in terms of their knowledge. Sometimes we take and overlook. We talk so much about the trauma that we experience in places and time, and we fail to take and point out some of the beautiful things that we got out of our experiences. And some of the beautiful things I got out of my experiences is that somebody reached one and touched one. And I'm one of those persons that have been reached and touched. And so I come back out as a resource. But there are resources that was given to me that are still in that place, And we are here talking about wrongful convictions. And we have to define what is a wrongful conviction. Some wanted us, as DNA had been introduced, some wanted to monopolize the idea that the only way you can be innocent if we actually have DNA evidence. But that's a political attempt to take and put innocent in a box. Okay. Then others wanted to if a prosecutor say that you are innocent, even though our own eyes, our own faculties, our own reason tells us what is innocent and guilt. And in fact, the United States Supreme Court said that most of the children in the United States, and at the time they was reviewing at least 3,000 children under 18 years old that have been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The U.S. Supreme Court said most of those children are innocent. Most of them are innocent of that type of sentence. That type of sentence came through the propaganda of politicians, and many of them was your favorite Democrats. Many of them was your favorite Democrats, including that woman that you want to take and make the first woman president of the United States, Hillary Clinton. And I'll be damned if I remain quiet while you do it, because I'm going to remind you what she said about me and other Black children in urban areas, that we were super predators. Saying I'm wrong and I'm sorry ain't enough. Your ass needs to be out there in every 52 states of the United States and changing those damn laws that include you and your damn husband and anybody that want to support you in your attempt to become president of these United States. We would take and meet you in every state where there's a child serving life in prison without the possibility of parole. If you ever get on the campaign trail, I would lead that campaign throughout this nation, just to let you know. That's what life means. That's what innocent means. So we're not going to let anyone else define for us what innocent is in this country and what exoneration is. Okay? So action innocent includes those children that have been condemned to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And I've had more than a few cellmates that were children that are now deceased. They lived those sentences out behind bars. And at least there was a larger side of them that died in prison that was younger than me. So I'm not just talking about elder prisoners. I'm talking about young men that were still in their 20s. You know, so thank you. My name is Edward Sanders. I'm here to take and enjoy your conversation about actual innocence and wrongful conviction and exoneration. So let's bring it on. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Edward. Attorney Matt.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Much, much love and respect to my colleagues. And Brother Barack, so good to see you again, my brother. So good to see you again, man. You know, J Love, Reverend Tia. You know, I've always say Trischè Duckworth, but she came up with another nickname. I got to write that down. She said it so quick. You know what I'm saying? You know, I like that. I like that, you know, and what an absolute blessing it is to be on with you again. Hugo J. Mack, 46,000 lawyers in the state of Michigan. I'm the only one that did not parachute from heaven in righteousness to be with you, but have come up from hell through the blood of God and Jesus Christ to be with you today. See what I'm saying? And there was a man by the name of Jack Johnson, first black heavyweight boxing champion of the world. He has a saying that he said that I want everybody to remember. He said, in the face of systemic racism, in the face of false accusation, white slavery, taking a white woman across state lines for, you know, illegal purposes, violating of the Mann Act, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He got to the point in his career where he said, I'm black, and they never let me forget it. I'm black, all right, and I never let them forget it. So you're looking at a man who came up from hell through the blood of God and Jesus Christ, spent a time in the penitentiary paying a debt he did not owe. They never let me forget that. All the time them guards was harassing me, all the racial slurs, putting razor blades in my cell, trying to set me up for major misconduct tickets. Got weak mind Negroes coming against me, you know, sell out to the masters, you know. And it's not just the white power structure that is a problem. It's the blacks, the quote unquote blacks, that are coerced and co-opted to do these people's work for them. See what I'm saying? And then try to cover it up behind, well, it's a black person saying it. Ain't no racism here. Yeah, right. So, you know, so I went through that, and I'm proud to have run for Washington County prosecuting attorney with all the derision and scorn and hate they put against me, because I am never going to live one more day of my life without bringing to the forefront the plight of the wrongfully convicted, the overly convicted, the mentally ill, the people that have been criminalized by poverty in this system. You see, so that's what I'm all about. And I tell you all the time, I'm proud. I'm not one of them type of lawyers who got a bunch of fancy, high price paying clients, you know, that drive fancy car over bridges. A lot of my people I represent are one step removed from living under the bridge. You see what I'm saying? So that is why God has brought me back from hell to be here in this particular place and time, you know, to finish out my race strong. So I'm proud to be here and so glad to see and be with everybody here this evening, because it's a wonderful thing. And J Love, thank you so much for having the heart and spirit to keep this going. And Brother Sanders and Reverend Tia and Trischè and the rest of y'all, thank you, you know, and I love you. Okay. Well,
okay.
Here we go. If you find yourself on Trouble Boulevard, push, pull, tow, drag that hoopity to Mack Street. Mack Street. When you're there, park in my virtual underground garage. And please do not misread the sign. It does not say free valet parking. It says free alley parking. Let's get that straight right now. And so once you're there in my virtual underground garage, I want you to dial the Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. You see, J Love and crew, because hmaclaw.com is your hookup. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. You see, because you've tried the rest, now come to the best. And if you don't want to win, don't come in. And I've got a special message for the haters out there. I know who you are. I know who you are. Writing J Love, putting a note on that woman's car, stopping a woman on the street, wanting her to kick me off the show. I know who you are. Don't deny it. Don't deny it. I know who you are. Well, I got a message for you, tailor-made for my late cousin Bernie. I ain't scared of none of y'all. So you see, so let's get that straight right now. And you know, J Love, and the thing about these haters, you know, they're always smiling in my face, J Love. coming up to me, pretending to be my friend, say, "Aren't you Attorney Mac on the show? You know who I am. You know who I am." You probably want to put that note on J Love car the other day. So you see, J Love, so it's kind of thing, J Love, for me, I just want them to take some of these damn knives out my back, J Love. You know what I'm saying? Because they smile in my face all the time, wanting to take my place. But J Love, in order for people to have an opportunity to write down hmaclaw.com as your hookup, and to know that 734-239-3118 is a freedom line, I'd like to be able to play, J Love, my theme song, Return of the Mac, and excuse me while I do the boogaloo. And introducing the some and reintroducing other, our newest Jans, the Janice. And no performance would be complete without my backup performers, Reverend Tia and Trischè Duckworth from Pulp Fiction, the Batman. So it is Return of the Mac through the grace of God and Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And J Love, I have a personal plea for you, J Love.
Okay.
If you should ever, J Love, ever start to feel that you need to yield to the pressure, I just have to plead the words to you of the late great Otis Redding. J Love, I've been loving you in the moment too long to stop now. You see, J Love, please, J Love, please don't make me stop now. Don't make me stop now. And J Love, the thing of it is this: should you ever decide to kick me off the show, J Love, the first thing I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go outside, J Love, in the rain. Now you say, Turn the Mac, why are you gonna go outside in the rain? I'm saying because the raindrops would hide my teardrops, and no one would ever know that I'm crying, J Love. I'm crying. Deep down, I'm dying. But see, J Love, I'm mad with my pride, and to the world outside my tears, I refuse to explain. I just wish it would rain, J Love. I just wish it would rain. And so, J Love, if all else fails, remember the words of the great Morris Day. J Love, ain't nothing worse than rejection. Rather than kick me off the show, I'd feel a little bad if you just kind of slap my face. So you see, J Love, this is how strongly I feel for the movement. And J Love, I know every time we get off the air, people ask that same question. J Love, does that crazy lawyer mean all this? I mean, come on now. Isn't that just a show? I've got a message for all y'all. You damn straight I mean it. You damn straight I mean it. I mean all of this. And in conclusion, I'd like to say this self-promotion, this wonderful expose for truth and justice, been brought to you by Dr. Hugo J. Mack, Esquire, the one true king of Russia, Scotland, and Lower Harlem. I love you.
Thank you, Attorney Mac.
Thank you. Thank you.
So before we get started, I do want to say today the Oxford shooter received life without the possibility of parole, and everybody else who didn't do their job got immunity. Well, they have immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
Where is the justice in that?
That's right. That's right.
Because, I listened to some of it today, but I was thinking, like, if people would have did their job, he wouldn't have had that opportunity. They would have sent him home with his parents, what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel sorry for all the loss of the children that were shot, but there's more accountability that needs to be had in this. So that's qualified immunity in Michigan for you.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So before we bring fireworks, before we bring on Dwayne, I want to play this video, you guys. Just 1 second.
Look at at that. Now at 6, we are following late-breaking details. After 35 years behind bars, a local man just walked out of jail and into the arms of his family. We're talking about Dwayne Brooks. He maintains he had nothing to do with the 1987 murder in Cleveland's Luke Easter Park.
And the News 5 investigators have been following through on this story, bringing you new information since November after learning evidence was not turned over to his defense. Then weeks later, Brooks spoke with our Scott Knoll while still behind bars.
What happened? Luke Easter Park, August 17th, 1987.
I don't know. To this day, I don't know.
How do you not know?
Because I wasn't there.
Well, then the big break. A judge ordered a new trial, which led to today's release.
Now, News 5 investigator Scott Knoll was the only reporter there as Brooks reunited with his family just a short time ago. And Scott, I know that had to be an emotional scene to watch play out right in front of you.
Yeah, emotional barely begins to describe it, not only for Dwayne Brooks, but also for more than 24 family members and supporters who came here to the Justice Center today to watch it happen. Out of jail and into the arms of his daughters. Dwayne Brooks free tonight on bail as he waits to learn if Cuyahoga County prosecutors will retry him for the 1987 murder of Clinton Arnold. For decades, Brooks' mother wondered if this day would ever come.
No, it's been a long time coming. It's been rough. It's been rough. It's been rough. But thank God we got him. We got him, and he's free at last. He's free.
Brooks maintains he had nothing to do with the deadly attack that also wounded 2 others. In fact, he says he was in New York when the shooting happened. But years of appeals went nowhere. Then newly surfaced police reports came to light. Evidence that a judge found was never turned over to Brooks' defense attorneys at the time of his trial. Evidence the judge ruled that could have changed the outcome of the case. Brooks today making good on what he told jailers after his 1988 conviction, that someday he'd be back.
I knew this conviction couldn't stand. I didn't know it was going to take this long, though. Damn. I thought it would be overturned in a year.
Instead, it was 35 years. Time his daughter Danae says she can't get back. She was 4 years old when her dad was arrested.
Wrongfully, they didn't give him a chance to be a dad to us. They don't know how many father-daughter dances I've been to without him. They don't know in the past year fighting cancer without him. Like, this is unreal. It's overwhelming. And we got a lot of lost time to make up for.
As for the possibility of facing trial again, Brooks says he wants the chance at what he says he didn't get the first time, a fair shot in the courtroom.
I know some people would rather believe a lie than accept the truth, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And I told everybody from day one that I didn't do it. And here we are, finally, 35 years later.
A judge has ruled that Brooks can return to New York to live with family until that new trial happens. However, he will be on house arrest with GPS monitoring as conditions of his bail.
Wow, Scott, that was amazing after 35 long years, and to see him reunite with his girls. We have to ask you, what's the timeline for a decision when it comes to if and when a new trial could take place?
Yeah, that's the big question, Courtney, and we still don't have an answer to that. What we do know is there's a pretrial set for this case in late May. Hopefully we'll get some of those answers then.
All right, News 5 investigator Scott Knoll, we appreciate you being live from the the Cuyahoga County Justice Center for us tonight. We appreciate you staying on top of everything.
All right, you guys, and I have one more video. Just 1 second. Just 1 second, you guys.
Well, we just wanted to say cheers to the next 35 years.
Whoa, whoa. A celebration of freedom more than 3 decades in the making. Tonight, we follow through as Dwayne Brooks celebrates life as a free man. News 5 has brought you his story for nearly 1 year as Brooks fought to overturn a murder conviction after learning evidence threw his guilt into question.
So much weight has been lifted that the truth is out there now.
We took you behind prison walls as Brooks insisted he wasn't even in Ohio at the time of the murder.
Long Island, New York.
Yeah.
Not Cleveland, Ohio.
Not Cleveland, Ohio.
And we were there as he walked out of jail earlier this year after a judge threw out the jury's guilty verdict.
I didn't do it. And I told everybody from day one that I didn't do it. And here we are, finally, 35 years later.
And now the news Brooks and his supporters have waited months to hear. The Cuyahoga County prosecutor dropped those murder charges.
Now I feel light, I feel free and like a regular person again.
But despite the balloons and the limo ride, tonight Brooks says there's still no justice for what he endured.
This is a biggie. News 5 investigator Scott Knoll spoke with Dwayne Brooks again today. Scott, he says this is all so bittersweet for him.
Yeah, Rob, the decision to not go through with those charges just reinforces something Brooks has been insisting for years, that he had nothing to do with the 1987 shooting that wounded 2 men and killed another, a crime he spent 35 years in prison for.
We could have just not celebrated. Yeah.
They're the words Dwayne Brooks
You are free. Yeah.
waited 35 years to hear. You are free.
You and I have talked about it how many times now?
Yes.
This has been the goal.
Yes.
Did you think this day would come?
I always envisioned it. But as time went on, the hope started to fade a little bit.
But outside a family member's home in Shaker Heights today, those faded hopes came into focus. Reality. 4 months after he was released from jail and put on house arrest to wait to learn if prosecutors would retry him for the 1987 murder of Clinton Arnold at Cleveland's Luke Easter Park, prosecutors informed the court they're dropping the charges.
It really hurt when I got the evidence in my hand that they knew from the very beginning that I didn't do it. And they did this to me. They took me away from my family, my parents, my kids, the love of my life. They took my whole life.
It's why Brooks admits he's bitter. Standing next to him today, his son, now 34 years old. His mother was pregnant with Dwayne Brooks Jr. when his dad was arrested. When he walked out of jail in April, it was the first time he saw his dad outside of prison.
I mean, it's been surreal, man. I mean, sometimes it don't seem real. All I know is, me thinking about him being in there, all I knew was it's like they could always do that to me also. I'm no different. I could potentially be a victim of they injustice too and everything like that.
A harsh reality, says Brooks' attorney, calling for accountability for a justice system she believes is more concerned with outcomes than accuracy.
I have 60 other clients just like Dwayne that I'm still fighting for, who are all in the same position, who are all harmed by the same irreprehensible practices.
As for Brooks, he found a job in New York and plans to head back this week.
I love the people here, but I couldn't live here.
Too many memories?
Bad ones. It took my whole life.
He says he wants to be an inspiration to those who are where he was. Proof, he says, of what can happen when you don't give up fighting for what's right.
The bitterness of being wrongfully convicted and wrongfully incarcerated, I can't let it outweigh the fact that I have to live now and for the future. I can't let it overwhelm me, because if it did, then it would destroy me.
So how did we get here? Well, in 1988, when Brooks went to trial, it was the policy of the prosecutor's office not to turn over police reports to defense attorneys. It wasn't until February 2021 Brooks got those reports, and inside was evidence the judge ruled they could have completely changed the jury's guilty verdict. That prosecutor's policy about not reports did change, but not until the early 2000s.
A long, long road here. Now, there is a state fund meant to pay people who are wrongfully imprisoned. Will that come into play in this case?
I specifically asked his attorney that today. While she wouldn't commit one way or the other to that, she did repeatedly say that in cases like this, there needs to be accountability.
You have been on this for so very long. Nice work, Scott. Okay, we turn the page and we'll get back to this if there's another update.
Yes. And welcome Dwayne Brooks. Hey, Dwayne. I don't see him. Dwayne. There we go. Dwayne having an issue with his camera. Hey, Dwayne. So while we wait on Dwayne.
And you might want to give him a little instructions just to click on that camera with your mouse, and it may open up. And same way with your microphone, you'll see the red thing over it.
Right.
Believe me, I've been there. I've been there, coming home as a returning citizen and being in grad school and not knowing how to use digital technology. So I empathize with you. Click on that microphone as an example, because we've seen some movement with your thing.
Yeah, he popped off. He'll be right back, you guys. So anyway, Attorney Matt, we could talk about Dwayne's story while we're waiting on him to come back.
You know what's so inspiring about it is a testament to the Spirit of God that he gives each and every one of us a measure of, you know.
Can you see me?
Yes. Hi, Dwayne.
Hi. I had to go out and come back in.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I had to play those videos for people who don't know your backstory. I mean, we've been talking about it a little bit, but I just wanted to play that because just so people can get to know what was going on. And so go ahead, Dwayne.
Where do you want me to begin?
Wherever you want to begin, Dwayne.
It was hard watching those videos. You know, this is something that you can't overcome. You know, like we spoke about last week, the young brother did 4 years and was only out 2 before he died. And Trish said that they buried him yesterday, or said goodbye to him yesterday. You know, it's like I was locked up for 35 years for something that I didn't do. I don't have another 35 years left. You know, the prison diet alone is going to make sure of that. I don't want to try to glamorize anything, because there's nothing glamorous about what I've been through. I know, you know, TV and the movies, you know, they glamorize things, but it's really it was long and it was hard and it was full of suffering and torture. And not only for me, but for my family and my loved ones too, and my children who suffered their whole childhood, you know, without having a father, and then also having the stigma that their father was in prison for murder. You know, the journey, you know, I knew that I had to stay alive. You know, I was determined to do that because I knew that I had to complete the journey wherever it took me. And I always envisioned that it would take me to exoneration. Like I said in the clip, you know, I didn't know it was going to take 35 years, but you know, knowing that you didn't do something and being accused of it, I'm sure in some shape, form, or fashion, everybody has been accused of something that they didn't do, whether it's said something or done something, and you can just multiply and magnify that by, I don't even know how much, 1 million, to have, your whole life taken away from you. Your whole life, your ability to be a regular person, your ability to live and prosper in the society, your ability to be a good son, a good father to your children, your ability to, and your opportunity to have more kids. They took all of that away from me. They took all my youth. Who knows what's going on with my health? I'm scared to go to the doctor. I've been out 7 months now, a little bit over 7 months, and I'm doing my best to live, because I wasn't able to live. I was just existing all of those years behind those 2 fences at whatever prison, that I was sent to. And, through the 35 years, I guess it was maybe about 8 different prisons within the state of Ohio. And, being treated like an animal, being talked to like an animal. You don't get talked, you can't talk with those people. They talk at you and they talk down to you. And these are some of some of those people that work in those prisons, which, people try to act like they're honorable. Those prison guards and some of those employees that work there are evil, pure evil. They are massa reincarnated. They living out, their fantasies of being in control or have the authority over, niggas. And it's a terrible existence. There's no amount of money that can make up for it. If you said, here, we'll give you $1 billion if you just live through this 35 years in prison, I wouldn't have took it. Right now, I'd rather be 21 again. So, it's terrible. They stole everything from me. And they let me out of there finally with nothing. I was 57 years old. I'm still 57. And I'm a 57-year-old man. And I came out of there all of that time with nothing. They didn't give me my gate pay. They didn't give me identification, which is, they call it a state ID, state release ID. I was just released, and glad to be released. Not complaining about that, but it's just like now, I'm out here, I got a certain level of integrity and honor within myself where I don't feel like being a grown man, I should be dependent upon or laying up on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So the fight just to get back into the system was a hell of an obstacle. I didn't have a birth certificate, a social security card. I had to get all of that. And then, now they got these things where you need certain points to be able to get your social security card. You need a certain amount of points to be able to get your birth certificate. I didn't have any points. I didn't have any history. My history for the last 35, 36 years was incarceration. So it was, hell of an obstacles, but I overcame them. I got my birth certificate, then my social security card, then when got a library card. I had to, just try to accumulate these points to prove that I'm who I am. You know, while incarcerated, you know, my identity was stolen, and a person ran up 39 delinquencies under my name. You know, you know, that's another obstacle I got to overcome. You know, it's just a never-ending nightmare, so to speak. You know, so the suffering continues. You know, just for the fact that I'm not where I would have been had they not illegally accosted me and taken me off the streets. If they hadn't broke the law to put me in prison, you know, I would have been so much further, because I was always a go-getter. I always got on my own. I'm getting on my own now. That's how I am. You know, it was a honeymoon for a short period of time when I got out, you know, and then it was over. So now, you know, it was time for me to try to get back into society. And you know, it was sickening for me to have to be begging and pleading and banging on the doors just to get back into society, just to get a job. You got all these people out here that don't want to work. Here it is, I needed to work, and you know, and this 36-year gap kept getting in the way. I filled out over 200 applications, had numerous interviews that went well, you know, but the access to Google, you know, Dwayne Brooks, and it comes up. And the fact is that even though I was innocent of the crimes that I went to prison for, I was still in prison in their eyes. So the stigma it continues. You know, this is no enviable position to be in. You know, it's crazy because, you know, even down to being able to eat food, because they serve something in prison, but it's not food. You know, having, you know, access to a tangerine, you know, watermelon, salad, vegetables, none of that. You know, so even, you know, homogenized milk, none of that. Definitely no real meat, no real fish. You know, so when the reporters, you know, asked me how did I feel about finally receiving justice, you know, I had to tell them there's no justice for me. Where can I, how can I possibly receive justice? You can't give me the time back. We can't, you know, jump back into 1988. Give me all the people that I lost, and everybody's still alive. Give me back my youth. Give me back my babies when they were babies. How the hell could there be justice for me? So, you know, I don't know if they understood that or not, but, you know, I had to tell them, because there is no justice for me. You know, I'm in the civil court now, and who knows how that's going to turn out. I'll be compensated, you know, inshallah, if I keep living, God willing. But financial compensation doesn't make up for a fraction of what they did to me. These people knew, they had the evidence, the police reports showing that I wasn't there, that I didn't do it, and they still took me to trial facing murder and facing the death penalty. They not only wanted to put me in prison for life, they wanted to kill me, hang the nigga. This is their mentality. Laughing and joking about it. Applauding, you know, when the conviction came down, they, you know, applauded. Smiles everywhere around the prosecutor's table. The whole time they knew that they had that evidence to show that I didn't do it. You know, and it's a shame that in this country they can take you to trial on anything with no evidence. They had no evidence against me. None. Case number 2300828 out of Cuyahoga County. Anybody can read it for themselves. You read the transcripts and all the police reports and everything that happened after that. They had no evidence. How can you take an American citizen, and we know that's tainted, but I'm still gonna say, to trial for anything, let alone a murder, with no evidence? It's insane. But because Black lives don't matter to them, that we will always be chattel and property and someone to, you know, put their feet on when it's cold. These type of things happen, and happens easy. They did it to me easy. It was like clockwork. They had it down to a science. You know, they rushed me in there within, you know, less than 90 days. You know, I was convicted and sent down, you know, down the road. And, you know, alhamdulillah, thank God that the jury didn't vote for the death penalty, because had they done that, I would have been dead 15 years ago, 13 to 15 years ago, because the average from conviction to execution in Ohio is 20 to 22 years. I would have never seen the 35th year to finally make it out of there. So it's terrible, you know. There's no getting back from me. What they do to people in this, what they call the greatest country in the world, is no short of war crimes upon a race of people.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that they go up in other countries for, that they say, oh yeah, they're doing this to these people over here, they're doing this to these people over there, as an excuse to get up in there and take their resources. They're doing us worse over here. I was Emmett Till. I never seen that white woman, but they killed me because they said I looked at this white woman. Never seen her. I was all the brothers and sisters who were hung and lynched and burned and mutilated because someone white said you was walking down the street the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I seen it all. I felt it. I felt all my ancestors when they were persecuting me. They knew they couldn't give me a fair trial because they would, if they had introduced the evidence, they wouldn't even have been able to get a indictment on me. The grand jury would have never indicted. So they knew they couldn't give me a fair trial. And like I said, they did it easy. They did it like it was like, you know, normal operations for them.
Right. How do they get to hide the police report?
Yeah, how do they? And did it on the record. So it's on my docket sheet where the judge said that he wasn't gonna allow the defense to see the police reports or the prosecutor's file. What kind of defense attorney wouldn't say, well, Your Honor, there's no way we can properly defend him? What kind of defense attorney does that if they're really trying to help their client?
Right.
And I wasn't a paid client. I was assigned those attorneys. So they worked for the court. We know that their oath is to the court, first and foremost, not even to a paid client. So whatever the court wants them to do, that's what they do. And all of them, every one of them in there, the 2 attorneys that they assigned to me, the prosecutor and his assistant, and the judge, all of them had law degrees. The only one didn't have a law degree was me. So they knew what they was doing. They was all in cahoots to do it. And this is what they do. And this is why it's my calling now to make people aware of what they're doing to people, what they did to me, and how easy it was for them to do. And as much as I don't like having to relive this and talk about it, because it hurts, and it's difficult to keep it together, I have to, because people need to know.
Yeah.
And if they keep on turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to what's going on, one day it's going to happen to somebody that's close to them or to them themselves. Then what? Now, then they're going to want help. Then they're going to be crying out.
Because it can happen to anyone. I've been saying this forever and forever and ever. It can happen to anybody. Nobody is exempt. There's no, criteria. You could just be walking down the street, or going to the store, or sitting in a restaurant. I was listening.
Anybody will do when they want to convict. When they want convictions, any black person will do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the truth is. I learned that when I was sitting in that courtroom. The truth doesn't matter. There's no truth in that courtroom.
Right. I was listening to another exoneree this week, and he was talking about, he wasn't from Michigan, but he was talking about how when he came home, he didn't have the ability to get Social Security, all these things that you don't have the ability. They just send, like you just said, they just send you home. And I think he had been in maybe about 30 years as well. And he was talking about all these things that, they just say, okay, we made him, you free to go, and you don't have anything. You don't have no kind of
nothing.
Rehab, nothing.
And you're not eligible. I'm not eligible for any of the programs for people coming out because I don't have a conviction. So nothing.
Go ahead, Edward.
And welcome home, Dwayne, or should I say, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And all praise due to Allah that you are home. You have said quite a few things that really interest me. One, I want to ask, are you still in Ohio or are you in Michigan?
No, I'm in New York.
Okay, alhamdulillah. And my heart go out, in terms of, what you've been through, man. And but all praise due to Allah, you suffer. You was patient and steadfast, and you sound like you have all your faculties. And I know how difficult it is to take. Sometimes people think that when people share their personal experience, it's just as easy as just taking and throwing it out there, and it's not. It can be very triggering to go over memories. In fact, I haven't been on this show in a long time because I didn't anticipate. And there was a video that was showed here of an African American woman being interrogated, and she was innocent. She did something. She participated in a behavior that I'm subjected to every day. She happened to be in a store. Somebody left a credit card sitting on the counter. She grabbed it and ran out to the gas station tenant where the gas you pump the gas, and she offered the car to the person there after the person in the store told her that it was the person out at the gas pump, when it wasn't. The person alleged that it was their car, unbeknown to her. She was just doing, a good Samaritan act. And the police, when they were interrogating her, because they took the video off the store thing, and they allowed that to tell the story as opposed to taking and making an honest inquiry. I worked in a conviction integrity unit since I came home from prison. Okay, while in prison, I was a jailhouse attorney. Okay, and so I knew how difficult it was in prison to take and try to get documents to take and show something. And one would think that, okay, well, being that I was in a prosecutor's office working, he had access to a storage room, that stuff was equally accessible to me, and it wasn't. The prosecutor office constantly had this duel with the county sheriff department and other law enforcement to get documents, and we had to make real decisions of whether we take this person to court and argue over this, and that in itself would put more years on taking and trying to investigate somebody's actual innocence, or do we continue to take and try to figure out some kind of way to get around the person, because you have someone trying to dictate to you that if you open up this case, then I'm going to take and, scorch the earth on you, one of those kind of things. And we had, real situations like that. And I can't, divulge much because I worked it in an office, so I have to be careful because there can be consequences that affect other people's cases,
Right.
Where people are taking honestly trying to bring people back home that may be innocent. But I learned a lot, but we knew that inside of the place. I went to prison at the age of 17, and I didn't come home until just before my 60th birthday. But Allah knows best how many years we may have on this earth. Allah Alam. But we do welcome you home, and I appreciate you sharing, and I do understand how it could be triggering. And so all of us have to be conscious of that when we ask people to share their personal story. Because that experience, I reached out to this woman that J Love has showed her video, just like she showed your video on here. I had to reach out to the woman's attorney. We connected. I literally went to his office and met with him to sit down. I made inquiries about the situation, etc. A person being exonerated or having went through that, and is the term exoneration is relevantly a political term, is a facade. It's just like we are being referred to today as returning citizens. A person convicted in the United States is never in actuality a returning citizen, because there are always going to be barriers around that person's reintegration back into society. And that is just as true with you guys that have been released from prison under circumstances where evidence hadn't been disclosed, as it is for anyone else. We all are still suspect. We all still subjected to perpetual punishment. Like you made reference to these documents. I wish you would elaborate on that. You made some reference to where you had to gain points to get your Social Security and your personal ID. Would you elaborate on that and explain to us what you were referring to there?
The documents or the Social Security card and stuff.
Yes, elaborate on all of that if you would, please, so we can understand what you're talking about.
The documents that they withheld, my attorneys chose not to even use all of the documents that they withheld. But the police reports that they withheld pointed to the state's star witness who had copped out, made a deal to testify against me. So what they did was they let him testify against me and put me in his spot. And these police reports showed this. Everything that the prosecutor told the jury about me, that he had evidence in the form of police reports showing that it was his star witness that these police reports pointed to. So, and we didn't even use, because the attorney said it was too much to use, and he just wanted to keep it on mission. So he used maybe 4 or 5 of the police reports that we found, but there were many more. I mean, and these documents are public record, as you were speaking about, you know, and the law changed in Ohio in 2017, I think it was, maybe 2018, to where all public records was accessible to the public. But even after the law changed, the clerks of court's office would send you to the sheriff's office, sheriff's department, and then the sheriff's department would send you back. So what I had to eventually do was hire a private investigator, because they are not supposed to deny agents of the court these public records. Even though the law changed and said they're not supposed to deny a regular citizen either, they were still doing it. They was giving them the runaround. So I hired a private investigator, and he got the police reports. And brother, you know, seeing those police reports, you know, it really, it emboldened me, but it sickened me at the same time, because I had spent all of that time in prison, and now I'm finding out that after reading these police reports, once I got them in my hand, that they knew the whole time that I didn't do it. So it was just like, it was a feeling of, okay, here it is. Allah put it in my hands. He said, here, man. You know, once I accepted, I said, you know what? Maybe this is just, you know, what's meant for me. Maybe I'm just meant to live and die in here. And if this is the qadr of Allah, I got to accept it. If this is the you know, preordained for me, I have to accept it. Once I did that, he gave it to me, put it in my hands, and it was all there. Everything they did to me, all the stuff that they withheld. And
so when you refer to points, I thought you was talking about actually getting your ID card and your birth certificate.
Oh no, that was after I got out. I got out with no doc. I had nothing. No.
So what points did you have to get those documents? What do that mean?
They say in New York, they go by a point system. You have to have, like, your birth certificate might be 2 or 3 points. Your social security card might be 2 or 3 points. You have to have these points to be able to get the next, you know, a state ID or a license, a driver's license. You have to have these points. You have to have so many bills in your name at this address. That might be a point. If you have a bill. So if you have 2 or 3 bills or 4 bills, that might be 2 or 3 or 4 points. So you need 8 or 9 points to be able to get your social security card or your birth certificate.
Do that apply to everyone in New York, or just people coming home from prison?
Well, it applies to everyone in New York, but it would only really adversely affect somebody coming home from prison, because you have no points. You have no record, you know, for 35 years.
I mean, every, like here in Michigan, the Social Security Office, Secretary of State's, everybody require you to take and show, you know, you show some proof, or you make some claim of where you live at. But that's ridiculous, you know, that citizens, and you know, and I'm like, that really interferes with, you know, it can be used as a political tool. It interferes with voting. It interferes with employment, with housing, with financial transactions. We are a society based on credentials.
Exactly.
You know, we're a society based on credentials, and that can literally cripple a person. So I was really interested in that. You need to tell that story often when you have access to the public. That needs to become more readily understood, that behavior even exists.
Yeah, I had no proof of who I was. So when I went to get my birth certificate, they said, well, you got to be able to prove that, you know, you're Dwayne Brooks. And I'm saying, well, how am I going to be able to prove that I'm Dwayne Brooks and I've been incarcerated for 35 years? They said, well, you need points. You need bills that come to this address in your name. You need a library card is one point. You need your social security card. Well, how am I going to get my social security card if I don't have my birth certificate and I don't have any points to be able to get that? So it was a total uphill battle. And one of the things that, you know, Allah gave me the tool was these phones now. I was able to punch it up, Google myself, and let them see that this is me. This is where I was at. So people started helping me. People started assisting me. And it was the only way that I could, you know, establish who I was.
How old were you when you went to prison?
22.
22.
Now I'm 57.
We have a national organization that advocates on behalf of adolescents, and that number we look at now as like 25. You know, just as a suggestion, if you can't find other reentry programs out there, you might consider taking and trying to connect with some of the juvenile lifer organizations like ICANN or Campaign for the Fair Sentencing of Youth. And they, you know, I was doing some internship there in New York, and it was provided through ICANN and the Campaign for the Fair Sentencing of Youth. And so, you know, this is a national organization. You should probably reach out to them, and you might find that they might be, you know, amendable to you for some resources and so forth. If you were here in the Detroit area, I would, you know, take and try to refer you to the Detroit Justice Center. But yeah, this is an issue nationally. But, you know, hey, you're Mukmin. Think about, you know, how you can turn that experience into some advocacy, you know, not only in terms of advocating, but, you know, Allah can take and provide you a means of livelihood as well in taking and doing so. I'm sure you got a big Muslim community there in New York City. There should be, you know, folks there to connect with. But my heart goes out to you, you know, the Brady issue, you know, Hugo Mack, know that as well as I do. The Brady and Trish understand that this is a decision of the U.S. Supreme Court. This ain't no discretionary matter. These are just U.S. Supreme Court has long taken held that law enforcement has a duty. They have affirmative responsibility. It's not a defensive or offensive. They have affirmative duty to take and give that information over to the defense, even before the defense begin to take and even enter a plea. They don't hold it behind their back to wait to see what you might say to incriminate yourself or whatever. They have a duty that if they have any evidence that even resemble something that can exonerate you, they're supposed to fork that over. And so apparently this is the basis on which you have been exonerated, in that they didn't fork that over. And had they forked it over, it would have demonstrated much earlier that you were not the suspect, or that the evidence wasn't didn't have the integrity to acquire the conviction that they wind up getting on false evidence. This occurs in our country because of the lack of you know, a good organizational culture. You know, for every organization, I don't care what kind of organization you talk about, there is people's structure, technology, and culture. You know, you can have the most sophisticated technology in the world, but if the culture in that structure is not good, like if everybody in the structure works on bias, then the tools they use is going to be faulty. You know, if I look at a camera and I see you come in a store and I see you pick up something and walk out the store with it, and I assume that that camera told me everything where I'm not present in that store, it's going to lead to something that is faulty. You know, we didn't have practices here in Michigan for more than 50 years where law enforcement, because they took the position that people wouldn't cooperate with them in urban areas, their attitude is that they can arrest witnesses to actual crimes as the perpetrator, knowing that that ain't the perpetrator, but they do it as a method to get information, and then they want to argue that this information that they acquire is reliable. It can never be reliable. You know, you force a person, you arrest an innocent person to a crime, and the bad thing is that some of the same law enforcement officers here in Michigan that has practiced that are there in New York and Chicago and other places. They have went on the road and become experts, so-called experts, and they are teaching other law enforcement agencies to do the same damn thing that they white masters were doing here in Detroit to their fellow black brothers and sisters. So we have to disrupt that. We have to take and say, hey, you done this here in Detroit. Not only did we have a problem with you doing this here, we got a problem with you then leaving out of Detroit and going in other places and other colleges and institutions and representing yourself as an expert. You're not an expert, you're Uncle Tom. You done sold out. You know, you done sold out. And they want us to believe that you're there to protect us. You're not there to protect us. We had a mayor here in the city of Detroit. He had to call the FBI. No, he called he called the FBI. He called the FBI and the Justice Department on his own police department because he couldn't get them to stop arresting citizens that they had no probable cause to believe that they were committing a crime. They were arresting witnesses to homicides, and he couldn't get them to stop. So he had to call the Justice Department. Okay? And these same cops are teaching law enforcement officers in Chicago, in New York, in Boston, in Philadelphia, and other places in this country. We have to disrupt that. We have to make this known. Some of them want to retire peacefully. We need to disturb their peace. They shouldn't be laying their ass in retirement as though they've done nothing in their community. We want people in our community that deconstruct, reconstruct, and construct in our own damn interests. You know, white folks didn't populate these prisons with their own population during this so-called drug war. They populated it with us. They didn't populate the prison with so-called child predators that was white. They did it with us. They did it with us, with black children. Okay? We have a major interest in reforming the criminal justice system because it adversely affects us more than anybody else. You damn right. Black lives matter. And if we were to say all lives matter, your ass will be in jail too. Your ass will be in jail too. And you would then understand why we say a particular life matter, because your ass ain't there. Okay? Your ass ain't there. If your ass was there, then I can empathize with you when you say blue lives and all these other lives matter. This isn't about gay lives, blue lives, yellow lives, or any other kind of life. It's about my black life. The only reason I have to say that I'm black and beautiful is because you said something else. That's the only damn reason I have to say that I'm black and beautiful. It's not because I'm arrogant or any damn thing. It's because I need to take and remind my kids, my black sister. I need to remind my black brother. I need to remind myself that I am beautiful because of what you said about my blackness. You know, so yes, we empathize with you, but we also committed to action. You know, this isn't just about talking. This isn't just about being angry. We have to take and learn how to create policies, you know, policy change. It's not about one individual. You know, I'm not going in any system, in any situation, just arguing about one person. This is about all of us. It's about all of us. It's about everybody that's affected in that system. And we have to work on many different levels. We all have to find our lane where we take and work in. You know, some of us can take and chew bubble gum at the same time. And some of us, you know, can't multitask. And we have to recognize which one of them that we can do. But turn your personal experience into your advocacy, my suggestion. Turn your personal experience into your advocacy. Do the same thing Yusuf alayhi salam done. You know, do the same thing Moses done. Do the same thing Joseph done. Turn your personal experience. The same thing Jesus did. You know, they accused him. You know, they accused him of having committed a crime when he didn't do anything other than share his faith with others, when they told him he was sharing it with dogs and swines. And that's what he was arrested for. Okay? They say he was throwing pearls at swines and dogs. You know, and the same peoples today that claim to follow him, you know, continue, who claim to cry over his persecution, continue to take and ask for exclusion instead of inclusion. Is why we don't experience a real democracy today. Why they take and claim that this is supposed to be their nation. You know, they say this is our nation. You mean the BS too? The BS is yours too? Did you create that as well? So yes, we empathize with you, but we also encourage you, like this mother here. She turned a moment into a movement. That's what this show is about. She took the experience of her son, and this is why we're all on this show right now. She turned to experience a moment of taking and advocating for her son. She done turned it into a movement where people can come on here and share their lived experience and advocate for their own lane or areas of criminal justice reform or abolition that they would want to take and do in this space. That's what makes this place so unique. And I'm gonna be quiet because I done said so much, but thank you very much for taking and sharing your personal stories. We know that in doing that, there is the potential harm in triggering you, and nobody means to take and do that. So we know that there's something in that. Sometimes people think there's nothing wrong with you come, you know, everybody at the colleges and universities want to take and ask you, you know, they want to give you a McDonald's dinner or a sandwich and a pop to tell your story, you know, and they need to stop that. We are not guinea pigs. We are not guinea pigs. Your story is the equivalent of a professor telling his or her story, and they should treat you like that when you show up, and not with a McDonald's card, you know, not with a McDonald's ticket. And so to remind that too, when people are inviting you to go somewhere and speak, just like that brother Yusuf Salam there in New York, that's someone that you reach out to. You know, you got a brother right there in New York, Yusuf Salam. He has spent time right here in Michigan advocating and so forth. He's been to the local mosque. He done been to the universities here in Ann Arbor, and he done flooded the place. And when he show up, I'm sure they treat that brother like a professor. You know, gonna pay for his expense and everything to come here. And that's what you demand when people are asking you to come somewhere. Are you paying for my travel, and are you providing compensation? And you want the same amount that they give to any damn professor. The same amount. It's not charity, it's work. You done earned a PhD. We just might as well call you doctor. Okay? So let me move out of the way, Dr. Dwayne Brooks. Let me move out of the way, doctor. And thank you, Professor.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, brother.
I like that, Dr. Brooks. I got a ring to it. I like that. You know, I said I was going to sit quietly tonight, but see, that leave it up to Baraka to ignite the fire in me, right? You know.
Yeah, Trischè. I was getting ready to say, in a minute, you know, he done tagged us in. I felt
Yeah.
like we were like maybe in a wrestling match.
Man, I
You
was
know,
on the rope. I was on the
tag
rope
me.
with my hand up.
I knew I could feel it. I could feel it.
Put me in, coach, put me in. But you know, I was thinking about all of this. I don't think that people really fully, truly understand the detriment of what you went through. And we talk about this all the time on this platform. Yes, you went through a lot, but your family suffered right alongside you. It destroys sometimes the family nucleus, and then it destroys the community. And that's what they don't understand. This is a community-wide problem. And this is why we have to take and stop being so individualized in how we look at things in society, because things are much bigger than what we see sometimes in our little viewpoint. We got to understand that wrongful convictions affect the entire community. I look at the Veazey brothers, they've been gone from their children for almost 20 years, with people knowing that they're innocent. I look at Mr. Michael Lawson. Since Michael Lawson's been inside, his son has experienced, you know, challenging with gangs. He had 2 sons that were murdered. I mean, just the list goes on and on of the things that happened due to the injustice of wrongful conviction. But then when you all come out, then the onus is on you to go around and be the guinea pig, as Baraka said, tell your story for a chicken dinner, right? And not understanding then that you giving me a chicken dinner, but I got to live my life. They don't think about the mental health aspects of it. Yeah, you out, it's a wrongful conviction, and you got out and you're free, amen, but free to what? Because the prison in your mind of having to be somewhere like that for 35 years, and then they bring folks home, and we was trying to get this and say this in the state of Michigan. Give guys great mental health resources, because if you don't, they liable to snap and be right back in. But all of these things are things that, and like you talking about you had to get some points for a card and all of that. How unjust is that? You suffer because of wrongful conviction. That should be rolled out to you on day one. They should have case managers that make sure that those that are wrongfully convicted have all of these things when they hit that door. Oh, it can be done. Like my brother said, oh yes, it can. It can be done. But it's got to take us to demand that our legislators, because see, a lot of this stuff we can fine tune with legislation. See, you can force the hand of these folks by putting legislation in place. So that brings me to talk about the vote. How do we stop wrongful convictions? We stop putting people in office that don't understand the severity of wrongful convictions. Because if they don't, then they will continue to allow miscarriages of injustice to roll through their court systems and do nothing about it.
Right.
So my heart goes out to you. And lastly, I think about how you said about this evidence that was withheld. I look at Carl Brunner, who we just again said goodbye to yesterday. I look at that case. The first trial, 2 videos withheld. Now, who had them? Who had the videos? I'm sure the prosecutor had the videos.
Of course.
That is prosecutorial misconduct. And now here we are, Mr. Brunner gone, and the person that is still in there, which was the co-defendant, the aider and the abettor, sitting in there for aiding and abetting to a crime that the jury of 12 said did not happen. Y'all, we got to stop allowing them to play games with us, because it might not be you today. We say it all the time, but it could be you tomorrow. We got to roll into action, and not just the action of bumping our gums, because we do a lot of that. And then when it comes time to stand and get on that front line, I told you I pulled up at a protest one day, wasn't nobody there but me. I said, that's all right. I pulled out my bump box and that microphone, and I stood there and did what I was sent there to do. But the onus of freedom, it ain't just on my back. The onus of freedom ain't just on your back. The onus of freedom is on all of us. We all got a duty. We all got a debt to pay. How you paying your debt? Because if you not, when it come your turn, don't complain. Don't call me. No, you can call me. I'm just playing. You can call me. But don't wait for that moment. Let's fight for injustice now. Jade say it all the time, and I hear it all the time. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So that's all I got to say, brother. I salute you. Your story, your I don't even want to say your story, your life and what you went through means something to me. And I thank you. Because I know, as Baraka said, sharing like this over and over again can be triggering. But I just thank you. I thank you for who you are. I thank you for being a strong warrior. I thank you for never giving up, because it's an example to us to never give up either.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Wow. Look, I feel you, Trischè. And I can hear, like Trischè always says, I need all hands on deck. Need all hands on deck with this. There were, a couple of things that were said that really, kind of ignited something within me. And that is, uprooting the structures and taking a look at all the structures and knowing that when Jesus or Yahshua, when they persecuted him, it was because there was an economic transfer. And people need to wake up to what actually was going on. And I'm really talking to people in Christendom, so that you understand that it was an economic transfer. They were not just upset because he was laying hands on the sick and all of that. They only get mad when there's an economic transfer. So in this case, we have to know that we are looking for an economic transfer, because when we get all of our people out and free,
Mm-hmm.
and those who are wrongfully convicted out, and when we uproot the whole system, because we already know that the whole system is tainted. It is a criminal, it is connectedness of criminal activity within the system. The system is supposed to be protecting us from criminals.
Right.
And yet they're criminals.
They're the criminals.
So they're criminals. And we need to stop saying, that what they're doing, this is a criminal activity, to lie, to withhold evidence. So that's criminal. Okay, so they should be the ones. So how can we look to those who are criminals to save us? How can we look to those who are criminals to protect us? Why are we no negotiation on this? That's why immunity has to go, because it protects criminals.
Protects criminals.
It protects criminals. So, and we got to get this, because the family loses. The family is the essence of society. It is the essence of our community. And people got to know that as long as wrongfully convicted continue to go behind bars, that whole system destroys the African minority community continuously.
Yeah. And that's why
and
I
at
say
the same time, it brings economic value to shareholders.
No doubt.
Shareholders. So, and that's what happens. They're getting paid off of somebody else's demise.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to say that, and I want us to start to say keywords all the time and put it out there. Keep saying it. Immunity is over. We should not be negotiating this anymore. Immunity is over because they just wrong. There's no way to try to figure out why. You're wrong and you know you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wellness not only should begin as soon as the person comes out, should begin in wellness behind bars if it's really rehabilitative. But because it's not rehabilitative and because the whole system is corrupt, then it continues to breed criminal activity. And people are slow to act. So I'm like Trischè, all hands on deck. I support these words. Immunity is over. And we got to keep saying it so that we can realize it. Wake up in the morning, immunity is over. We don't even have to know all the hows, but we got to keep shouting loud and not surrendering to anything else. Immunity is over. This system has to go.
Has to go. No reform.
It's gotta go.
It has to be overhauled.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be reformed.
No reform.
No. Attorney Matt.
Well, I'd rather just save my comments for the closing section, J Love. I don't have anything more to add, but I will say this to Brother Brooks, and I'll say this to Brother Barack also. Men that have been and continue to be in chains are brothers, you see? And the reality of it is, whether you were chained up for something that happened as a youth and sent to the penitentiary ridiculously, not just ridiculously, but evil. That's an act of evil, actually. Sending a youth to the penitentiary far beyond what is called for and acknowledging their humanity is an evil thing. In my case, sending somebody to the penitentiary for a crime that they did not commit, and you know they didn't, is an evil thing. Sending a man to the penitentiary not only for a crime you know he didn't commit, but that you willfully, that was no accident, you willfully withheld evidence that could have exonerated that man back then and not resulted in him going to prison is an evil thing. You see, so this is a spiritual warfare also, because this is evil, saints. And whether you say Allah, Jesus, what have you, the bottom line is you acknowledge the greater force of justice that is guiding your life. You know, you acknowledge that you are not an entity unto yourself, but you are here to serve the supreme being. And the supreme being is love and justice, period. Okay? So, you know, it is not surprising to me what happened to Baraka. It is not surprising to me what happened to myself. And it's not surprising to me what happened to Brother Brooks. But see, all the more reason, and all the other people that are listening, and the families, Trischè is right, the families that have endured this also, none of this is surprising. You know, my scripture teaches me there's nothing new under the sun. You know, what happened to the three of us and the families of all involved, this is not new. Ain't nothing new here. But the question is, do we stand for what is right in our time? You know, because I know many of people that I served time with that got out, they want nothing to do with any talk about the penitentiary. They want absolutely nothing to do with people that are left behind in the penitentiary. You know, all of our journeys are different, but quite similar, because I left men in the penitentiary, some of which have died, that I will stake my very life on, that I know those men are not guilty. Those men are not guilty, but have died in the penitentiary. So the fact that God chose me to go through that and to leave out of that lets me know there's purpose in my life for the rest of my life. So, you know, I want to say to Barack, I want to say to Brother Brooks, God bless you. I love you. You know, I still bear the marks of my chains, brother. I bear them, maybe not physically, but I sure enough bear them mentally. I'm going to tell you that. of what was done to me. And, you know, I want to end up with this, J Love. Everybody can say, well, you know, you was wrong. You know, you was in there. You know what you did. And, you know, and by the way, even if you didn't do it, you know, you did something else. And this is karma. You know, those people ought to be the ones first in line to the express to hell. And I'm serious. I'm sorry. Because what you've done is you have berated another person's humanity. You have made yourself the ultimate judge and jury of their humanity. When you sentence a person to prison for a crime they didn't commit, or a crime that if they committed some crime wasn't that crime, or you take advantage of a person's youth, you are trying to destroy their humanity. That's what you're trying to do. So my heart is out to you, brothers, and to our sisters on here and to the families. But we here, man, and our job is to keep on talking. I know I'm gonna keep talking, and I know my two brothers are gonna keep on talking too, and my sister Trischè, and my sister Reverend Tia, and certainly our leader J Love, because we ain't gonna shut up, you know. So God bless y'all.
Can't stop, won't stop.
J Love,
Yeah.
I'm suggesting here on your show that we start acknowledging these brothers and sisters that are going to prison wrongfully and that's being exonerated. That we, at this point, we take and acknowledge. We're going to start calling these brothers and sisters doctors. You know, the experience is intended to take and strip of us of our dignity, of our humanity, and we should take and acknowledge that they have all of that, and that whatever experience they've been through has took them to the highest level of education. And I think that we need to start holding ceremonies and declaring them to be a doctor in our community.
I like that, Baraka. Yes. I mean, 30, 40 years of institution. Yes, you are a doctor. You couldn't get that education nowhere else. And then, you know, people don't understand that this is not an easy road. You know, like Dwayne was saying, his family, they do time with you. You know, I did time with Gerard. I was by the phone every day. You know, he called me every single day. And so, you know, I was on schedule with him. So that's why we're here to educate, because we have to have more compassion. We don't have compassion for stuff we don't understand. So that's why people find it so easy to say, well, you must have did something, you know, because they don't have an understanding for, you know, or sometimes they don't want to have an understanding. They don't, you know, it's easier for people to just go along with the system or go along with, you know, things, so they don't have to take responsibility for the truth. But yeah, Dwayne, I want to thank you for, you know, sharing with us your journey, because a lot of people won't get this opportunity to be exonerated, you know, and that's the other thing. Some people come home and never are exonerated, or never find someone that's gonna, you know, do the work to help them clear their records, and you know, so. And it's not as easy as people think, you know. When you hear exonerated, it's like the trendy thing now, you know. And it's not as easy when you have, like I said earlier, over 2 million people in prison and maybe about 3,500 exonerations. See, that is imbalance. So, thank you, Dwayne.
You're welcome.
Do you want to say anything to leave us with, Dwayne?
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. As the brother was saying, you know, my advocacy it's instilled in me now. You know, this is why I do what I do. This is why it's no problem for me to share what happened to me, because I know that it's happening all over this country. And when I say that it was so easy for them to do. It was like, normal operations, like clockwork. I know for a fact that it's happening all over this country. I don't know the particulars, the particular players, but I know as easy as they did it to me, they can do it to anybody else. And they have done it to anybody else. And I wrote everybody. I wrote all the TV shows, all the law schools, all the politicians, all the courts, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. Boy, I wrote everybody trying to get some assistance. And it just wasn't, it just wasn't the cutter of Allah for me to have it at that point in time. It was some more that I had to go through, some more that I had to learn, and when it was time, it was a godsend, as we say here in America. He gave it to me. This is what they did to you. I could have never, I could have never known that, all of that evidence was there. I had no idea. So it just made me know even more so, have confidence in and trust in that we are not in control.
Mm-hmm.
We are not in control. Allah, we call Allah because we call him by the best of his names. In America, we call him God. But Allah is Arabic. Just another language. We call him by the best of his names. So, but he's created all of us. And he's in control.
Mm-hmm.
We are not in control.
Yeah. Trischè, do you want to leave us with something before you leave?
MLK Day. Powered by the people. We're going to be at the Frank Murphy Hall of Injustice for MLK Day rally. And if we get the folks out, we might just have to march through the streets of downtown Detroit. But we got to let these folks know that we mean business. I just want to encourage us all to stand because, and I get it, we were taught to stand down because it could cost us our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught to stand down because we could end up like Emmett Till. We were taught to stand down because we could be lynched. We were taught to stand down because it could be the death of our entire family. But we got to teach ourselves something different. We got to teach ourselves to stand up. We can't continue to lay down to the injustices that continue to happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to understand in this work, you got to be not afraid to lose because you already lost. If we aren't all free, you already lost. So what do you have to lose to stand? I ask you to stand with us, not just on MLK Day, but on every day. It's your duty. It's all of our duty.
Thank you. Brother Chia.
Trischè, thank you so much. And that, what does that standing look like? And I just have to come in and I put it in the chat, you guys, because it's about your beingness. And Dwayne, on the road to exoneration. And knowing that when you come out, and even after you've been exonerated, you're still on the road, but it's who you are. And yeah, you got a PhD because you studied more than we have. You probably studied more than lawyers do before they go, and you had to free yourself. And the energy, the focus, same with Barack and Attorney Mac, I know had to dig deep and learn and put things together and know how to argue your point and get it out and say, look, you gotta take another look at this and find a way. And it just showed me that you guys have such persistence, which this is what it takes. And we all have to be persistent. But when I talk about beingness, I talk about the light that you shine when you're out, the words that you use, how you talk, how you motivate and still tell the truth. And sometimes you're looking in the face of adversity and looking in the face of people who really didn't give a damn, but you continued on. And you have to not be distracted by the naysayers. And I know that when people come out, they're already, when it comes to getting jobs and housing, they're already at a disadvantage. But you kept going. And that is inspiration alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we got to still fight. That's why we got to still stand. Because I don't even want to say fight anymore. I want to say we already won. I want to say that we already win. Why? Why? Because immunity is over and because it's our time.
I'm just being guarded.
Time to win.
Thank you, Robert T. At work.
I just reiterate the concern that each community should have affirmative duty to take and validate their returning citizens that are coming home as exonerees, to take and anoint them as professors in their community, taking and making the other people in the community. Your mic is on Hugo Mac, making them aware that young people's aware that this is someone that can take and alert you to harm in your community. You know, that there are snakes in the grass, and this person has experienced, the venom of those snakes. Anytime you send an innocent person to prison is an act of state violence. If you're a state agent, you acting as a state agent, you committed a state violence, violence against this person. And the things, the trial and tribulations that person has went through has anointed them as a professor. And we expect, as in the African tradition, that person would warn others against that danger. And so this is why I'm suggesting it's not simple in terms of just saying the person is a professor. That experience that person has went through have value, and we need to take and value that. We need to value that. We don't need anyone to be ashamed. See, we need to reverse that. Where if you've been through something like this, the family and others want you to just be quiet and go off in the room and be quiet. Like I think it was Trish or one of you just said about the harm, that we learn to be quiet, because it can cause harm. I couldn't go down soft as a kid with my family for a long time. They resisted taking me down soft, and they would tell me that I can get the whole family in trouble. Here I am, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid, and I'm trying to figure out why can't I go down to Mississippi for family reunions. And these grown people have fears. They're saying, no, you're too much like your mother. You can't go down there. You get the whole family in trouble. And I'm triggered by this when I hear the situation going on between Palestinians and Israelis, where one side is celebrating their returnees to be in the media and everything. They're holding them up, letting them tell their stories. But the other side, they're telling them you can't celebrate. And if anybody do it, you would be arrested for supporting terrorists if you take and make mention or celebrate the release of your family members. And that is triggering to me as an African American, because I have realized that experience, you know, and I'd be damned if somebody called me anti-Semitic because I take and share my experience. You know, this is wrong. This is wrong, and it's wrong if our media participate in it or anybody else. You know, in that situation, I suggest that we should celebrate for them. Okay, we should celebrate for them and acknowledge who have been released. Okay, and here your community should take and anoint you as as a doctor, and they should take and define what that means in that community. You know, in doing that, they would exonerate you, not the system, but your immediate community should exonerate you. That's a duty that we all owe our exonerees coming home. And thank you. And thank you again for your story. And I thank everybody here on this panel today that has contributed in terms of conversation with you, etc., and acknowledging your trial and tribulation and welcome you home. And thank you again. Welcome home. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam to Allah. Jazakallah khairan.
All right, Attorney Matt, close us out.
All I can say is peace and love, that greater is he in us than he who's in the world. And we've won this thing. We just have to bring it to the fruition of it, you know. And so, hey, God bless you. Like I said, Brother Brooks, you know, my heart is with you, you know. I bear those chain marks too, brother. I bear them too. So I know exactly, and Barack know exactly what you're talking about, you know. So you was there with me. Even though you didn't know me, your spirit was there with me. When I was in there, mine was with you. Barack, we didn't know each other before, but as a man that spent time wrongfully in the DOC, my spirit was there with you, and your spirit was there with me. The spirit is eternal. The spirit of love and justice is eternal. It doesn't die. Our bodies may die, but the spirit that we represent in justice and truth will never die. You know, and so, you know, Reverend Tia, you know, J Love, Trischè, I love y'all. And hey, be blessed and stay prayerful.
Thank you, Attorney Matt. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week again. Turning a moment into a movement. Good night.